Hello, my name is Hannah. I used to believe that happiness was something I would find one day at the end of a perfect job, in the arms of someone who loved me, or hidden inside a beautiful house with a view. But no matter how hard I chased it, happiness always seemed just out of reach. Then something changed. I discovered a secret not in the outside world, but within myself. And that's when my life truly began. Let me tell you the story of how I found the secret to being happy. There was a time when I thought happiness was hiding somewhere far away from me, maybe in a new city, maybe in a better job, maybe in someone's arms. I believed I had to find it, like a treasure. And so, I spent many years running after it. I still remember the year I turned 24. I had just finished college and landed a job at a well-known company. My parents were proud. My friends were impressed. Everyone thought I was doing great. But deep inside, I felt empty. I used to look at myself in the mirror and wonder, is this it? Is this what happiness feels like? Because if it was, I was definitely missing something. I thought maybe I needed more success, more money, more love. So I made a list of goals: buy a new phone, travel to another country, get promoted, and fall in love with someone special. I believed that once I achieved all of these things, I would finally be happy. And for a while, it seemed like it was working. I got a promotion. I went on a trip to Turkey. I started dating someone I really liked. And yes, I felt excited. I felt joy. But the happiness didn't stay. After every goal, I felt the same feeling. Okay, now what? It was like climbing a ladder. And after every step, the next one just got taller. I was tired. I was exhausted from chasing something that kept running ahead of me. That's when it hit me. Maybe happiness isn't something you chase. Maybe it's something you create. This idea didn't come to me all at once. It grew slowly, like a plant. One rainy afternoon, I was sitting in a coffee shop alone, watching the raindrops hit the window. My phone was off. My mind was quiet. I had no one to impress, nowhere to be. And for some reason, I felt calm, peaceful. I looked around at the soft lights, the smell of fresh coffee, the gentle sound of a guitar playing in the background. That's when a simple thought came into my mind. Maybe happiness is already here, and I've just been too busy looking somewhere else. That small moment changed everything. From that day on, I started doing something new. Every day, I began to look for happiness in small things. Not in huge achievements, but in ordinary moments. I woke up early to see the sunrise. I wrote in a little notebook about 3 things I was grateful for each day. I smiled at strangers. I made time to talk to my mom. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since high school. At first it felt silly. I was used to running after big things. But slowly, I started to feel something I hadn't felt in years. I started to feel full. Not the kind of full that comes from eating your favorite food. It was the kind of full that comes from peace, deep, soft, and real. One morning, I was walking in the park, and a little girl ran past me, laughing as she chased her dog. Her mother was calling after her, smiling. The sun was gentle. The air was cool. The world was still. I sat on a bench and thought, if this is not happiness, what is? Of course, I still had problems, bills to pay, work stress, moments of sadness. But now, I wasn't waiting for those problems to go away before I allowed myself to feel happy. I realized that happiness and pain can exist at the same time. That's when I truly started creating happiness, because I was no longer depending on the perfect moment to feel it. One day, a friend asked me, "Hannah, you seem more peaceful these days. What changed?" And I smiled. I stopped chasing happiness like it was hiding in some corner of the world, I told her. Now, I create it wherever I am, with whatever I have. She looked surprised, so I shared my little list. I called it the Happiness Builders. Here's what was on it. Wake up and breathe deeply for 1 full minute. Say thank you for at least one thing, even if it's small. Do something kind for someone without telling anyone. Spend 10 minutes doing something creative. Disconnect from my phone for an hour and just be still. Talk to someone I love. Really talk, not just text. It may sound simple, even boring, but these little things began to fill the empty spaces inside me. And over time, I realized something beautiful. Happiness is not a reward at the end of a journey. It's the way you walk the path. I also stopped comparing myself with others. That was a big change for me. Before, I would scroll through social media and feel like I was behind in life. Everyone looked so happy, so successful. But now, I understood. What I saw was just the surface. True happiness was deeper. It was quiet. It didn't need to be posted online to be real. Another lesson I learned was that happiness isn't always loud. It's not always laughing or dancing or jumping with joy. Sometimes, happiness is sitting in silence with someone you love, or drinking tea alone on your balcony, or finally forgiving yourself for a past mistake. I started forgiving myself more. I had made many mistakes, said things I shouldn't have, stayed in places I had outgrown, hurt people I loved. But holding on to guilt didn't help. So I looked in the mirror one night and whispered, "It's okay. You were trying. And now you're learning." That was a happy moment too, because letting go is also a way of creating peace. There's one last thing I want to share. You don't need a perfect life to be happy. You don't need everything to go right. You just need to find one reason, one small moment, one deep breath, and choose to feel grateful for it. Now, when people ask me, what's the secret to being happy? I say, the secret is to stop chasing and start creating. Create it in the way you speak to yourself. Create it in the way you treat others. Create it in your daily habits, your small joys, your quiet moments. Happiness was never far away. It was just waiting for me to stop running and finally come home to myself. There's a kind of pain that doesn't come from what happens to you, it comes from how tightly you hold on to things you were never meant to carry. I didn't know this at first. For a long time, I believed that if I just tried hard enough, if I planned everything perfectly, I could make life go my way. I tried to control my future. I tried to control what people thought of me. I tried to fix every problem and hold on to every person. But life has its own plan. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, things still fall apart. That was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn. It all started with someone I loved deeply, Daniel. He was my best friend, my comfort, my home. We had shared years of laughter, late-night talks, and dreams of a future together. I thought we were unbreakable. But slowly, things began to change. Not all at once, but like slow rain that soaks the ground until it becomes too heavy to hold. He became distant. Conversations that once flowed like rivers turned into short, dry words. I blamed myself. I thought maybe I had done something wrong, so I worked harder. I tried to make him happy. I changed little things about myself to please him. I stayed up late just to talk. I wrote long messages even when I got no reply. But one day, he looked at me and said the words I feared the most. "I think we've grown apart." My world cracked. In that moment, I begged him to stay. I promised I would try harder. I cried until my chest hurt. But he had already made his choice. And no matter how tightly I held on, I couldn't stop him from walking away. That was the first time I truly understood the meaning of letting go. For weeks after, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every memory, wondering what I could have done differently. I blamed myself. I felt like I had failed, but deep inside, a small voice kept whispering, "Not everything is in your control." At first, I ignored it. I wanted to believe I could fix it, but the more I resisted, the more I suffered. So one night, I sat down on my bedroom floor, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. I whispered out loud, "I let go." And I cried not because I was weak, but because I was finally letting myself feel the pain instead of fighting it. It was not easy. Letting go felt like giving up, but it wasn't. It was freedom. Slowly, I began to see that holding on was hurting me more than the loss itself. I was giving my peace away to something I couldn't change. That lesson grew deeper with time. I realized I was doing the same thing in other parts of my life too. I worried constantly about the future, where I would be in 5 years, if I'd ever succeed, if people would love me, if I'd be happy. I wanted certainty. I wanted control. But life doesn't give you full control. It gives you choices. It gives you moments. It gives you now. The more I tried to control the future, the more I missed the present. So I started practicing something new. Every morning, I would say this little sentence to myself: I accept what I cannot change. I focus on what I can. This one sentence changed the way I looked at everything. When someone misunderstood me, instead of trying to explain myself 100 times, I let it go. I reminded myself, I can't control how they think. I can only control how I respond. When work got stressful and my plans didn't go perfectly, I reminded myself, I can't control everything that happens. I can control my effort and my attitude. When bad memories came rushing back at night, I didn't fight them. I sat with them, gave them space, and then gently let them pass like clouds in the sky. I also stopped trying to fix people. That was hard for me because I'm someone who cares deeply. I used to think that if I loved someone enough, I could heal their pain. But I learned that healing is a personal journey. You can support someone, but you cannot do the work for them. Letting go of their responsibility was one of the kindest things I did for both them and myself. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what's not yours. There's a story I love. It's about a man who carried a heavy backpack everywhere he went. Inside it were stones, each one a worry, a fear, a regret. He carried them because he thought he had to, until one day, someone asked him, "Why are you carrying all that?" And he realized he didn't have to. So he slowly began to take the stones out, one by one. That's what I started doing in my own life. I let go of the need to always be right. I let go of people who didn't choose me back. I let go of guilt over things I couldn't undo. I let go of expectations that were never mine to begin with. And as I let go, I felt lighter, freer, happier. I began to enjoy life again. I stopped overthinking every message I sent. I started laughing more. I took walks without headphones just to listen to the world. I made art again, not to impress anyone, but because it brought me joy. Most of all, I began to trust life. I learned that life has a rhythm. Sometimes it flows smoothly. Sometimes it takes you through storms. But when you stop trying to control the tide, you learn how to ride the waves. There's a kind of beauty in not knowing what comes next. There's a kind of peace in saying, I don't have to control this to enjoy it. Now, when things don't go my way, I pause and breathe. I remind myself, this too shall pass. I choose to focus on what I can do, take care of myself, be kind, show up, and let go of the rest. And you know what? That's where true happiness lives, not in perfection, but in peace. So if you're holding on to something heavy right now, a fear, a person, a mistake, or a future you're trying to control, please hear this. It's okay to let go. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. It means you're making space for something better. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is living. After I learned to stop chasing happiness and let go of what I couldn't control, something inside me began to shift. My mind, which used to feel like a noisy, crowded room, slowly became quieter. I could finally hear myself think. I could breathe. I could feel. But there was one more secret I had to learn, the most important one of all. It came to me during a simple moment. As many powerful lessons do. I was sitting in the kitchen, barefoot on the cold tiles, holding a warm cup of tea. The window was open, and a gentle breeze moved through the curtains. Outside, the leaves were dancing in the wind. A bird was singing. The world felt still. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Contentment. Not excitement. Not joy. Not even pride. Just quiet, simple contentment. I wasn't thinking about yesterday. I wasn't worrying about tomorrow. I wasn't trying to be anywhere else. I was just here. And that's when I realized, happiness isn't hidden in the past or the future. It's waiting for us in the present, right here, right now. But the truth is, being present is harder than it sounds. Our minds love to run back to our mistakes, forward to our fears. Mine did it all the time. Even when I was doing something simple like brushing my teeth, my mind would be elsewhere. What will I wear tomorrow? Did I say something wrong earlier? What if I don't reach my goals? I was living everywhere except in the moment I was actually in, so I started practicing mindfulness. Not the fancy kind you see in big books or apps, but the everyday kind. I began to pay attention, real attention, to the world around me and the life within me. When I drank water, I noticed the coolness. When I walked outside, I listened to the sound of my steps. When I hugged someone, I let myself feel their warmth fully, without rushing. When I spoke, I truly listened. And when I sat alone, I didn't scroll through my phone. I just sat. At first, it felt strange. I had become so used to distraction. But slowly, the present moment became my favorite place to be. I also started a habit that changed everything. Gratitude, journaling. Every night before bed, I would write down 3 things I was grateful for. Some days it was big things. I got a message from someone I love. I passed my exam. I had a great conversation with my sister. Other days it was small things. The smell of rain. A stranger smiled at me today. I had a soft pillow to rest my head. And on the hard days, I still wrote something, because even on the darkest days, there is always light if you choose to see it. That's what gratitude does. It turns what you have into enough. It doesn't make your problems disappear, but it makes your heart softer, your mind calmer, and your life richer. One morning, I went for a walk without headphones, just me and the world. I noticed the way the sunlight touched the trees, how the flowers leaned toward the light, how people crossed the street holding hands. Everything felt alive. I felt alive. In that moment, I whispered to myself, this is happiness. Not because everything in my life was perfect. It wasn't. I still had challenges. I still had dreams I hadn't reached. But I wasn't waiting for something better to feel joy. I was present, and I was thankful. That was enough, you see. We spend so much of our lives waiting for the weekend, waiting for someone to love us back, waiting to lose weight, earn more, move out, grow up, waiting for life to begin. But life is happening now. Every laugh, every sunrise, every cup of tea, every tear, every breath. These are not small moments. These are life itself. And when you start seeing them that way, something magical happens. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop missing your own life. You start showing up fully. I also began to speak more gently to myself. I used to be. My own worst critical was pointing out what I hadn't done, who I wasn't, what I lacked. But now, I speak with kindness. If I make a mistake, I say, "That's okay. You're learning." If I feel sad, I say, "This will pass. Just breathe." If I succeed, I say, "I'm proud of you. You tried?" And that self-love, that compassionate, brings happiness that no one else can give or take away. Being present also taught me something else. How to really connect with others. When you're truly present with someone, you look into their eyes. You hear not just their words, but their heart. You make them feel seen. And in return, you feel seen too. Those moments, deep, real human moments, are some of the happiest you will ever know. So now, every day, I ask myself just one question. What can I notice, love, or be thankful for in this moment? Sometimes it's the sound of birds. Sometimes it's the silence. Sometimes it's the way my heart still beats, strong and steady. No matter what, and every time I ask that question, the answer brings me back to life. So if you're waiting for happiness to come after something big happens, let me gently remind you, happiness is not after, it is now. Not when you get the job. Not when they come back. Not when everything is perfect. It is now, in this breath. In this heartbeat, in this moment you're living. The secret is not to search harder. The secret is to slow down and see what's already here. Final thoughts from Hannah looking back. I understand now that happiness isn't a destination you arrive at. It's the way you walk the path. You stop chasing and begin creating. You let go of what you can't control and hold on to peace. And most of all, you live fully in the now, thankful for every step. The world hasn't changed much since I began this journey, but I have, and that has made all the difference. So wherever you are today, I want to say this: you don't have to wait for happiness. You can find it right now. In this breath. In this moment. In yourself. The real secret to being happy as I sit here today. Years after that restless season of my life, I often look back at the girl I used to be, the one who was always chasing, always trying to fix everything, always waiting for happiness to arrive, like a package at her doorstep. And I wish I could hold her hand and tell her, "You're not broken. You're just looking in the wrong place." Because happiness was never hiding in a job title. It was never trapped inside someone else's love. It didn't live in the future or the past. It was always in the quiet now. It was in her breath, her small joys, her courage to let go, her power to choose peace. It was within her. And it is within you, too. I learned that we create our own happiness not once, but every single day. With our thoughts, with our choices, with our attention. And you don't need a perfect life to begin. You just need to begin where you are. With what you have, as you are. Moral of the story: happiness is not something you find, it's something you build. Build it by letting go of what you cannot control. Build it by noticing the beauty in this moment. Build it by being kind to others, and most importantly, to yourself. So take a deep breath. Look around, be present, be grateful, and smile. Because, maybe, just maybe, you're already standing in the middle of everything you were looking for.